Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has signed an executive order extending the state of emergency in Michigan through May the 28th. That new legislation is getting some pushback from a lot of lawmakers. And joining us now is U.S. State Representative, COVID survivor himself, Representative Tyrone Carter. Welcome, sir. And my first question is, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling 100% better. I am fully recovered, thanking God, and ready to do work. And I was up in Lansing the other day, so.
Good to hear that. So tell us what's on your agenda right now that you've recovered and moving forward. What's first up for you?
First up for me, I have District 6, which is everything downtown, Ecorse, and the city of River Rouge as well. And the biggest issue that we had was before, we were not prepared. There wasn't enough hospital beds. There weren't enough personal protection equipment. So now that we've gotten people to stay in place, the biggest issue that I'm working with right now is trying to get unemployment benefits for many of my constituents.
And Detroit, unfortunately, is one of the hottest hotspots in the country as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And the other thing that I find interesting, and I'm interested to hear your take on this, the protesters that are showing up at the state capitol armed with guns, saying that they want to reopen the city. And I'm not trying to be trite about this, but what if those protesters were black showing up with assault rifles? How would that go?
Well, I think everybody already knows the answer to that. And we've discussed this ad nauseum. They have this open carry. Michigan is an open carry state, so as long as your weapon is exposed, you can have it. And we're also exercising the First Amendment. But the two together in a volatile situation, we need to work on some legislation too. All it takes is one incident. And yesterday was a staged event because what happened Wednesday, we could have resolved everything Wednesday, but this gave the agitators the opportunity to call their posses in to come up and protest the reopening of the state. So this was staged, it was planned, and I think next time we'll be better prepared for it.
So Representative, so many people across the country hear about Detroit. For people who've never been there or never lived there or experienced it, you know, sadly, unfortunately, we do hear a lot of negative things happening there. Can you tell us exactly what it's really like? Are things as bad as we think it is?
I mean, it's a subjective thing. We keep hearing about the tale of two cities, of how the downtown and everything else is just really doing well, and it is. We've got a lot of positive things that are happening. We have downtown, Corktown, Midtown. We have pockets, but some neighborhoods feel that they're left behind, and a lot of them have been. So we're trying to make a great marriage, because downtown is a destination, but most people live in the neighborhoods. So we're trying to get that part together. I mean, we have 3 casinos, we have 3 stadiums, we have the riverfront. We just have a great downtown, but it needs to spill over into the neighborhoods and the residential areas.
Yeah, and for those of us who are familiar, we know that sports teams have revitalized that whole downtown area, bringing the Lions in and, of course, bringing the Tigers in as well. But with this COVID-19, one of the hardest hit entities there has been the police department. Your police chief was suffering from COVID-19, and many, many officers there. What kind of a toll is that taking on your first responders?
It's taken a huge toll, and today is May 1st, which I've been retired from the Sheriff's Department now for 12 years, and I think I remember you, Mr. Hickman, doing sports here.
Yes, sir.
So it has taken a huge toll, because people, and I'll just say this and be honest, people really only love the police when they need them. And this is a time that we've needed them more than anything, but they didn't have the equipment to protect themselves as well. Nobody had the equipment. So what we've been able to do is get the N95 masks, because we know that they protect them 95%. And it has really taken a toll on first responders. I know at one point, maybe 20% of the department was quarantined or had tested positive, but as they're slowly getting back in service, I mean, this virus affects people differently. Having survived it myself, and I've had a few friends that have passed away from it, I know that, you know, there's differences. And, you know, to rush somebody back to work, I think sometimes is a little unfair to that person to get them back, because we need them, but, you know, we need them to be 100%.
So true. Representative Carter, we hear so much also in the news about your governor, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. What are your thoughts on how she's handling this?
First and foremost, I'll say that I stand with the governor, because if we had waited on the federal government, and I can give you a timeline of my situation. A group of us get together the first Friday of March every year for the last 20 years for a celebration. So this year was March 6th. We all got together, and quite a few of us became sick after that. March 10th is when the governor activated the executive orders. Now, I went back and looked at my schedule, and I had like 13, 14 events that all of a sudden had been canceled. And maybe I had it then, I don't know. But out of that party, Donna Faye Collins, who was a commander at the Sheriff's Department, passed away. Another officer was in Wyandotte General Hospital, sick. 5 of us got sick with the symptoms. So if we had waited on the federal government, the governor shut it down on the 10th. The federal government, there were still people spring breaking on bridges. So I tell people all the time, she took immediate, decisive action that probably saved a lot of lives.
And can you give us a snapshot about the rest of the state? I know that Detroit is your love, and that's where you represent. But how's the rest of the state faring right about now?
Well, right now, and I told somebody, if I were to use an analogy, there was a fire. So, I mean, she came with every fire department, every truck, and put water on everything. So that was the entire state. So as we're looking around for hot spots, the metropolitan area, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, which is the southeastern Michigan, which surrounds Detroit, has proven to be, probably because of the density of the population, a hot spot. But in the meantime, there's 83 counties in the state of Michigan. We're starting to see an uptick in some of these counties. But when you hear the protesters, they're saying that it's a Detroit issue. Well, the issue is Detroit is better equipped with the hospitals that we have, Trauma One, to take care of these things. But this reminds me of September 11th. Yesterday reminded me of September 11th. September 11th, we were united. We were the United States because we were all under attack. When COVID first hit Michigan, we were united because nobody had an idea. But as we started looking at numbers and people start saying, well, it's not as bad as my neighborhood, why am I still being held to that standard for the entire state? And I have to remind people that she's the governor of the state of Michigan, not just a region. So whenever she sees fit with the numbers, she will make that determination to say, you know what, we can pull back, which is what she's done with some of the industries.
So what's the one message that you have right now for your fellow citizens in Detroit?
That, once upon a time, we were all in this together. Now it seems like we're divided because it becomes and it's always, I'm sure you've seen the Detroit versus everybody. So what this reminds me of, and I hired in the Sheriff's Department in the early 80s, it was the crack epidemic, and then 15, 20 years later, it was the opioid crisis, and how things are handled differently when they impact different communities. We're all in when we're all in. I would ask them to be patient. This thing about reopening the economy so we can make a living, I still have people in my district literally fighting for their lives on ventilators, just catching it, and we're catching heck. So my thing would be, we're all Michiganders, sharing this. We share in the prosperity. When Detroit does well, the state does well. Right now, Detroit is the epicenter for everything that is going on with COVID. Lend a hand and stop complaining and being selfish because it's nice in your area. Let's do this as a team. So, like Malcolm X said, the difference between I and we, I is illness, we is wellness. We need for the entire state to be well. We need for people to be comfortable when they go back out and go to these businesses. And I don't think that we're there yet. We're just not there. The numbers are getting better. But let's go with the data, because it's hard to make a living when you're not living. And I've lost quite a few people to this virus. We
are so sorry for your losses. And I think that advice can go for across the country, many places. Indeed. So we appreciate those words. And we wish you and everybody there in Detroit all the best.
And Representative, I'm going to come up for a Lions game one of these days and buy you a loose coney. How about that?
Hey, you come up for a Lions game, maybe they'll win.
I don't know about that. We haven't seen it yet. Thank you so much, and please be well,
all right.
Sir.
Thank you all.